She's going to take us through a session titled Building a Healthy Team. How are you as an EXCO going to come together and work together so that you can fulfill your goals and serve the members effectively? Thank you very much, Jenny. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Toastmasters, it's an absolute pleasure to be here and to be sharing with you what Toastmasters International shares with us in terms of training and what we need to do to effectively carry out our duties. And also, hopefully, I will get the opportunity to share with you some of my experiences. Let me just say this, please. As with I take Toastmasters very seriously. And anytime I stand up, I do wish to be evaluated. So I will request Robert and Mike and Manjiro and all the other area directors here and everybody else, please, who has my number after this, kindly give me your feedback in terms of my time management. It is one of my weakest spots. And then I get very excited about very strange things. So I may stay on one point forever because I'm excited about it. And if I start telling a story, please be warned. I can go on. And also I'd like to be evaluated. I don't judge myself as being funny, so I tend to laugh at my own jokes. So you will tell me how well or not well I do on that. Just quickly to recap the morning, I would wish for one or two people. Let's say two people to please tell us one takeaway you learned from this morning's session. Just one. And because I have to manage everything on my desk, I would prefer if you just unmute yourself and speak it out loud. Either an aha moment, something you learned, something you were reminded of. Two people, please.
I must be very knowledgeable as a VPE.
Thank you. And another one.
As a president, that to whom much is given, much is expected. So I will have to strive to deliver the best. And the other take home I got was from the first session with Mike, that with evaluation, you have to exercise moderation and know how to do it right. And I like the analogy he gave of a seedling. Too much water will drown it, and no water will kill it. So you have to find out what is the adequate amount of water. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm sure all of us have great takeaways. Let me tell you this. I was a VPE for 1.5 years. Toastmasters. It surprises me how much I still don't know, how much more I still have to learn. So this training helps you. We start you off. There's a lot you'll have to learn on your own, going to the Toastmasters International website. There's a lot of information there and learn from one another. In this morning's session on evaluations, I've been doing evaluations. I've even won Best Evaluator in 1 or 2 meetings. But listening to Mike this morning, there are so many things I realized I was doing wrong. So, and that's what I love about Toastmasters. We learn as we do. So now we go to the topic, healthy team. We had about evaluations, we had about a quality club. Now we want to hear about a healthy team. If we're going to have a quality club, if we are going to support our team members, we have to be healthy as the leadership, as the EXCO. So what are the traits of a healthy team? And I want you for a minute, if you would, you can either put it in the chat and Robert kindly help me with that. But if you would, just unmute yourself and tell me, what comes into your mind when you think about a healthy team? And I would encourage you right now, don't even think about Toastmasters. Don't think about the EXCO. Think about whatever teams you are in out there. What comes to mind? A healthy team. Growth.
Frank communication.
A healthy team is one that everybody is able to contribute freely and honestly.
Thank you.
I think a healthy team should also have no overlapping of roles so that everybody clearly knows what they do.
No overlapping of roles.
Collective responsibility for successes and any failures.
Thank you. And Robert, if I have anything on the chat, if you would kindly read them out.
A healthy team is one where everybody knows what they're expected to do, and as the team leader, you give them the legroom to execute their roles and responsibilities with no micromanaging. I find micromanaging quite a hindrance to teammates giving the best that they could.
Right. A healthy team handles conflict with maturity. I've seen that. A healthy team is supportive. Now let me ask the question negatively. What comes to mind when you think about unhealthy team? It might be easy to say, if all the healthy things are absent, then we have an unhealthy team. But let's still think about it. What comes to mind? What is an unhealthy team? What are some of the characteristics? Again, write or speak.
An unhealthy team is one that is rudderless, that is pulling in different directions, where no consensus is arrived at most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no motivation in a healthy team, in an unhealthy team.
Yes, no motivation.
An unhealthy team is characterized by mistrust and a lot of sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
In the chat, I can see backstabbing, stagnation, do not have open communication.
Right, and thank you very much for those. And there's one interesting one I saw there. A healthy team equals death. Equals death. We are talking about the Toastmasters Club. We are talking about a quality club. We are talking about providing support and a good environment. If we do not have a healthy team as the EXCO, all those other things will die. So in the Toastmasters International, they have given us what they call the 5 traits of a healthy team. Everything that we have said can be summarized and grouped together into 5 traits. Robert, I did forget to ask you, to kindly request you to have the slides up for me. If you would, and just go straight to, and actually, let me say, if you could go straight to the objectives of the session. Let me actually start there. Take me straight to the objectives of the session. And I'm not too sure I'll even recognize when it comes up, but assuming it's coming, it's there, it's coming. The objectives of this session is we will be able to identify the 5 traits, most of which you have talked about. You will get an opportunity, probably not to do the actual analysis of your team right now, but we'll tell you how to go about that. You'll identify behavioral styles of each team member and how to create a healthy team. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. So what are the first traits? Robert, by now you should be on the triangle, and I would appreciate if you can just put up the first trait at the bottom, which is trust. There are 5 traits. The first one is trust. Toastmasters, what we are saying is, if we cannot trust one another in the team, how will others trust us? How will we work? How will we deliver? It is important that we are able to trust one another. We will look at the trust a little bit deeply later on, so I won't talk too much about that. Robert, if you would, the next trait. Is it showing on your screen, Toastmasters?
Yes.
It's healthy conflict. You know, and when you guys were describing an unhealthy team, you did talk about, you know, traits of an unhealthy or healthy conflict. What are we saying? Conflict will always come. Toastmasters, it doesn't matter how well you think you know each other, how well you think you talk to each other well, but when you're serving in a team, conflict will come. And so the question is, how then do we deal with the conflict? And Toastmasters does suggest truly that there are two types of conflict. There is destructive conflict and there's constructive conflict. Since we cannot avoid conflict, how do we constructively conflict? And how do we recognize and do away with the destructive conflict? And we will be talking about that. The next trait after trust, healthy conflict is commitment. Toastmasters, we are experts. If we are not committed to the call and to what we have, so to speak, committed to doing, how shall we deliver? And how do we get to build commitment? And how do we demand commitment of one another? So we're talking about trust, we're talking about healthy conflict, commitment, and accountability. If we trust one another, we have resolved our conflict, we are committed, then we can be responsible and be accountable to one another. After we do that, then we are able to attain results. And Robert, I hope you are with me on the presentation, then we will be able to achieve results. Toastmasters, let me tell you a story. Right now, it's actually not real life. Right now, as we are talking here today, is the 27th Saturday. This week on Monday, we got the news that my father tested positive for COVID. Tested positive for COVID. We all know COVID and what it is and what it could mean. My father is 86 years old, so you can imagine. Now we have a family. In my family, we have 6 siblings. We have to work as a team here to solve or deal with this issue of my father having tested positive. We have to trust one another. We have to have healthy conflict. We have to be committed. We have to be accountable, and we have to achieve the results. In building a healthy team, therefore, what we need to do is always focus on the goal. What is the goal? You will, in your clubs, go through the process of doing a success plan, and whatever your distinguished plan goals will be, what you want to achieve, you will go through that. That should be your focus. And as usual, we're always being reminded about Toastmasters' mission to provide a supportive and conducive environment for members to grow. We have to keep that in focus. So my father has COVID. Immediately, because of so many other details, he's in KU. As we talk now, he's in KU, in the, isolation center. So we meet. We haven't even started meeting, by the way, as family. We are talking to one another. I'm calling my brother, I'm calling my sister. Everybody is talking to anybody and everyone is thinking everything. And here I am, I call my sister and I'm like, have you heard what Lucy is doing? She's called KU and she's saying, old man, we call him old man needs to be moved away. Then I see what my sister says. I call the other one. My brother is saying that he's well connected and he knows people there and he can ensure my father is taken care of. We have no trust with one another. And this is what is happening. Then after one day or something, we decide, hey guys, it's COVID time. I mean, we have Zoom. Let's have a Zoom meeting because 2 of us are out of the country. So we come and we meet. Now the conflict began. Real conflict. My sister, one is in the UK, she says, let me tell you, I have ever taken care of this kind of situations. Old man has dementia, and he has this and that, and this is what I'm telling you. This must happen, and this must happen, and this may happen. Toastmasters, 6 of us had 6 different opinions of what should be done in one area or the other, and there was real conflict. Now, how did we then come back together? We had to keep reminding ourselves, and 1 or 2 of us kept doing that for us and saying, guys, let's focus. We are trying to think what is best for old man, not what I think. And I think I love my father the most. So of course, what I'm suggesting is the best. This, my brother, has been absent in old man's life for a couple of years. What does he mean coming here to do what? Conflict. But the minute we kept going back to what is the focus? What is it we are trying to achieve? And therefore, it's not a matter of my personal opinion. I think Toastmasters clubs should run for 3 hours. Now, I think the club should start with the Toastmasters of the day and end with the president's speech or whatever. It's not about what I think. It's not my self-interest. It is about what is the focus? What are we here to attain? Now, once we began to trust one another and we started to have constructive conflict and then converge into what we are agreeing on, then now we started getting, now we were committed. And now we could divide the tasks and we would get committed. Therefore, guys, now that we have agreed, tomorrow, Lucy, you're the one, I didn't mean to mention their names, but anyway, one is Lucy. So you're the one who's calling the doctor and the nurse. My other sister, start calling about alternatives because we may need to move him. We are not yet sure now. We have agreed that it's not a matter of I prefer Avenue Park Nursing Home. I prefer Nairobi Hospital. None of that. It's what's best. So you do this, and then we committed to do our parts. And then now, once we had the list down, we were accountable. We are going to meet again tomorrow, and we did meet. Every day now we've been meeting. And when we meet, everybody has to come and say what they did of the duties that were given yesterday. We were accountable. And it's because Toastmasters, as we were having these conversations, and we are, at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we agree on what we have agreed. It is easy to have the conversation and think we have agreed, but it has to be clear in everybody's mind. As an EXCO, what are we trying to achieve? What have we agreed on? And it has to be clear. And I liked it because when we were having this Zoom meeting and we are the 6 of us, and some of us talk, actually all of us talk too much and we don't listen to one another. But one of my sisters would keep saying, okay, Jenny, what do you think? Okay, Nani, what do you think? And made sure we went through the 6 of us and we were clear on what we were doing. I will tell you this, that at the beginning, once in a while, my brother, who now we were enjoying each other, so we'd be like, oh my God, I thought he was the brightest of all of us. But he kept saying, no. Lucy, Nani, repeat what you have said again. And then one of us would get another and say, my foot, don't keep taking us back. But no, Toastmasters, I learned in this instance, it is important that everybody is clear. So be patient with one another. Some of us are slower, some of us are quick. So just be patient and be sure you know what you have agreed on. Then you can be accountable and then you can achieve the results you plan to. So those are the 5 traits of a healthy team. And then the question then begs, as Toastmasters in the EXCO, what tools do you think, what tools you have available to ensure that the EXCO focuses on the results? What are the tools you have? For us, the main thing was, the focus was old man. What is best for his health, given his age, given all the other underlying conditions he has and everything, what is best for him? And then we used to take notes and go through the notes. For us in the EXCO, what are the tools that we have? And please, unmute yourself and tell me, what do you think you have as an EXCO? And we talked about them this morning. Robert, can you assure me that I'm still here and I'm still being heard?
Yes, you can be heard clearly.
Oh, okay, I can see we have the club success plan. I see that. We have the DCP goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I would offer that we have the membership building programs. When you're doing your plans at the beginning, there are all these things you're going to have. So what we are suggesting is, anytime there is a conflict, you go back to the club success plan. What did we say we wanted to accomplish? We have the distinguished performance reports. This is where we have reached. What more do we want to accomplish? Toastmasters and guests. Let me give, not guests, I'm so used to saying that. Let me give you another incident, now real in Toastmasters. Sometime, and I'll try and make sure you cannot identify what I'm talking about exactly, but at one time in the EXCO, one of us decided, you know what, we need to, June 30th is coming. We all know what's happening right now. We have so many members who have still have so many speeches to do. And so what do we do? Then one of us who, I guess, and this is this person's characteristic, loves to help and, gets ideas and runs with it. So they decided, you know what, we'll do special meetings, and quickly started to organize for a special meeting. Toastmasters, right now we're in this era where we're having online meetings. So all of us, and if you're like me, you've attended quite a number of other clubs meetings and to see what's happening. And then we've gotten to know each other. And therefore, I'm even taking roles in other clubs, and I'm getting other Toastmasters to take roles in my club. So we've gotten to know each other more. And especially for me, coming from a corporate club, I did not know many of you people out here. So now I've met you. So in my talking with other people, this particular EXCO member, because she's talking with other people, realized, oops, that other club also has people who need to speak, and that other one. And so when she's organizing, there she is, she has told, let me take an example, she has told Sarah Adhiambo, do you also have people who need to do? Sarah says, yeah, I have 5, and I'm like, bring them on. And then you talk to another club, and they're bring them, and organizes the whole thing. Oh, then what happens? It all blows up in the sense that the rest of the EXCO felt uninvolved. They were not requested or asked whether we want to do this. Some of the EXCO members thought, when we do anything for our club, when we do anything for DiploSpeak, it should be the members only to benefit. So that speakathon you had should have only been for members. So again, then you go back to, what is our purpose? What are we here for? If we only had 2 members who needed to give speeches, doesn't it behoove us as Toastmasters to ask the other club if they also have the same? And this is what, and I probably didn't get into the details of it, but when we're talking about trust, actually we will get there, when we're talking about trust, we need to give each other the benefit of doubt. And let us just quickly go there. If you would, Robert, I would appreciate if we can go to the slide on building trust. That's where I'd like us to go. Building trust. Remember, trust is one of the 5, but it's very important that we need to talk about it on its own. What is trust, Toastmasters? What is trust? If you would just speak it out or put it on the chat box. What do you think trust is? And why is it so important? Answer any of those. Why is it so important to have trust?
We have leader teamwork. Trust is teamwork.
Trust is teamwork. What is trust? What is it not? And why is it so important? Any of those questions?
Trust is doing what you say you do at the right time and the right way. Right. Trust is not saying that I'm gonna do this thing and then you don't do it, and then you talk to others about the person who may have given that instruction to do it.
Right.
Trust is having faith that others can do whatever you are doing as best as you can.
Right.
For me, I want to give an analogy of trust. I think trust is something which you earn. So it's like you're putting pebbles in a bottle every time when somebody does something which makes you feel like you trust them. And anytime when they do the opposite, you remove those pebbles. So trust is something which is earned, and it can be something which is broken based again on what you do. So you need to keep feeling that, feeling by your action instead of subtracting from it.
Right. Thank you.
You also have several.
Trust is the belief that others can do what they have said they'll do.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you then another question. What makes you not trust me? What would make you not trust me?
Your past actions.
My first actions.
The previous actions, I think.
Past action, gotcha.
If you don't keep your word.
Right.
Sometimes there are things that are completely unrelated to the issue at hand. If you don't like me. Sometimes you just don't want to trust me.
Right. And thank you. So trust is all these things or not? Let us talk a little bit about on this one aspect of trust. Sometimes I don't trust you simply because I don't know you. I don't know you. So whatever you do, I don't know where you're coming from. Take, for example, you have and this, for some of us who've been in the EXCO, we've experienced this. We have a meeting today at 4 p.m. and somebody shows up at 4:15. The announcement has been there for over a month. It's in the calendar. We always meet on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Somebody comes at 4:15. What do you make of that? So, I mean, for me, I'll be there and I'm like, really? I may not say it, and this is what happens. I may not see it, but I'm like, really? 4:15? And you call yourself a Toastmaster? I mean, give me a break. And so everybody else is thinking something else. Toastmasters, trust is broken if we do not know each other. Some of the things I have learned from experience. We had one member in our EXCO who loves to, she must jog. To me, she's obsessed with exercise and jogging. But let me tell you this. What if this particular member has to jog, has to run, has to do whatever because they have a serious medical condition? And the doctor has said, if they don't do this, even for a day, it jeopardizes their progress. If you don't know that, you will always mistrust this person. Sometimes somebody misses a meeting altogether. And again, you're like, really? Even yesterday, the president sent a reminder. Really? And then to make it worse sometimes, you don't even give apologies. But Toastmasters, let us take time to know one another in the EXCOs. Understand a little bit about one another so that we avoid an error that is called attribution error. Attribution error is where I interpret the other person's behavior just the way I want. I mean, we're in a meeting. We're in an EXCO meeting. And here is Marianne dozing in a meeting. Really? She's dozing. If I need, first of all, I need to be patient and always give the benefit of doubt. Marianne cannot come to a meeting, honestly, and just decide, you know what, I'm going to sleep. This is what you don't know. Marianne has a newborn baby who is crying all night or something else. Somebody had to rush a relative or something to the hospital in the middle of the night. So Toastmasters, let's take the time to know one another in our EXCOs. And if it's your first time in an EXCO, you will learn from others the things that people do. What are some of the things we did? Like, for example, for us, once in a while, we had lunch as the EXCO. Just have lunch and talk about anything and everything. I mean, anything. And there you learn, oh my God, this guy has a newborn baby. Never knew. And we are a corporate club, so you would think we know each other, but that never quite happened. So think for a moment. What would you do as an EXCO to better build trust? What are some of these things you think you will do or could do? Toastmasters.
I usually say this, under promise and over deliver. I think if you do that consistently, you build a lot of trust.
I see take time to learn one another, and I would ask, what do you mean by what do we do to take time to learn one another? But go ahead anyway. What else could we do as an EXCO to build trust?
There's this activity we used to play, to go through during our EXCO meetings at the beginning. And during the EXCO meeting, we will ask each other we'll go around and ask, and each of us will need to say one thing that the other members of the EXCO do not know about yourself. And over the past 1 year, we've come to learn very interesting things about each other. For example, some of us write poetry. Some of us sleep with the lights on because we don't like them. And I think it was a great way of getting to know each other and build that trust.
Right. Thank you. And I would offer that if you Googled activities to help build trust in a small team, there are all this manner of ideas. And therefore, you can get ideas to build trust. Toastmasters, we do not have the time. However, when you go back to your clubs and you have your EXCO meetings, take the time to write, what are some of the dangers we see, and the generic ones, and it's all that what we talked about. And so what are some of the steps that we will take to mitigate and to be able to trust one another? So let us just have a quick recap. There are 5 traits to a healthy team. And we saw the first one is?
Trust one another.
Trust one another. That's right. The second one is?
Healthy conflict.
Commitment.
Healthy conflict. Commitment. I did hear somebody say commitment, and then?
Accountability.
Accountability.
And then results.
And then results. Those are the 5 traits. And we are saying how to build trust is other things, put in other words, is always give somebody a benefit of doubt. Let us trust one another that whatever an EXCO member will do, let's trust that they want to do it for the good. And if they don't and make mistakes, correct them from that perspective. They wanted to do good, but they did something else. And therefore, you cannot judge my character because of something that I did. And get to know one another as members and let people be. This is something I've come to learn, and I also learned it individually as a Toastmasters just the other day. Let people be. I tend to lean towards, and even this goes for evaluations, when I'm evaluating a speech, now I see the danger of giving an evaluation based on my style and the way I like to do it. So I will say, you know what, Anthony, when you speak, you need to use your hands and you express yourself, and you do that. That is my style. That is my style. But so now I'm learning, let people be. Are you like my brother who needs to go over those points all over again and be sure somebody's taking notes? If that's how the person is, let them be, and it's okay. And let us all flow with that member. And then of course also more so for the club president, to build trust and to avoid the attribution error, it is good to harmonize your teammates. We say the club president, but really it's all our responsibilities. We have to gel. We have to be in harmony, in able to do these things. And then remember that disagreements with the action someone has done does not mean the intent was bad. And that's what we need to learn. In this situation of my father and the family, there are some things according to me, one of my sisters does, and I'm like, honestly. But now, as we talked and as we met and we each gave everybody a chance to read, I said, no. Her heart was pure. Her spirit was clean. She was doing it out of the good heart. She jumped. So what if she jumped and went and called this doctor and then called this other one without checking with us? She was worried. The first report she got was not too good. So she quickly called another one and quickly called another one. But when she brought us the report, it was all for good. So let us not judge. The intent may not necessarily have been bad. So Toastmasters and guests, this is what we are talking about, building trust. Robert, if you would, I did warn you that I do get lost. Robert, if you would kindly tell me on what slide am I on? Oh, this concludes building a healthy team. Since I still have a few moments, if I'm not wrong, Robert, and correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, I do have a few minutes. Tell me a takeaway from this session, and now not in theory, say it in this way. When we go back to our EXCO and start executing our duties, this is one thing I will do. Not what you suggest others do, but this is one thing I commit to doing. Out of this session, if we would, please let's hear a few examples. You could write them or just unmute and speak. And when you're thinking, let me just tell you this, I read a book once that was saying, if you're reading a book, say about exercises, and then it says, so now put down the book and do 10 press-ups. If you will not put down the book and do the press-ups, stop reading this book. So I want to make sure that right here and now, we commit at individual levels of some of the things we are going to commit to doing personally to help build a healthy team. So please, what are your press-ups? Give everyone space to be. I will learn more about the aspiration of the team first and build trust with one another. And feel free to unmute. Ken Ogutsu, what are you going to do?
I think straight away, I'd like to start this conversation about trust in our team.
Right, okay.
And you can be sure I'll start that.
Thank you. Team building activities, that's good. Commitment and accountability, that's good. Now I can't see what is on the chat, but I guess all of us are reading it. So as I said earlier, this session does not give full justice to everything about a healthy team and what we can do. So please, you'll go back to the material that is here and we will share with you all these things, and then go back to your teams and have conversations. The other thing I learned personally as a VP, because when you start doing your duties as an EXCO, whatever role, there is so much to do. There's so much to accomplish. So I forgot to keep going back to what my role is and what I'm supposed to do. And it surprises me now, coming to the end of the term, and we have to give a report.